This is Mr. Kaufman with High Five History with an instructional video showing you how to write academic raps, right? How to use hip-hop in your classroom to get students writing about topics or content that you're covering. As a video I'm super excited for. I grew up in the late 80s and the 90s and was a big hip-hop fan growing up, and I've been excited to be able to bring it back into my classroom as a teacher. Thanks to vocabulary, I've been able to use hip-hop and rap in my teaching about the last 4 to 5 years. And in the last couple of years, I've been having my 7th graders write their own rap songs about the Crusades. So I'm excited to share this video. It'll be good for your students as well as for your teachers. Again, just going over the very basics on how to write hip-hop songs. All right, so how to write academic rhymes. To start off, I think it'll be important just to break down how the music is organized. And in rap and in like other music genres, the music's broken into what's called bars, otherwise known as measures. Right? So this would be the beats of the music that go together, and in this case, consisting of 4 beats, right, that form together one bar. And again, another way to think about it is the measures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a song and get us a chance to count the beats and hear how the bars break down. One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So as you can hear there, right, the song is broken down into bars or into 4 beats that go together, and it'll continue on for however many bars or however many measures it takes to go from the beginning to the end of the song. All right, so that's some vocabulary words there and some organization to how a hip-hop song is organized into bars. Now when it comes to writing, hip-hop songs and like other poetry or like other forms of writing are broken into couplets. And a couplet being 2 bars or 2 lines that are coupled or that go together. So here, for example, I have bar 1. Justinian the First, his enemies he did defeat. He expanded his empire, took it to its peak. All right, so there's 2 bars that go together and they form a couplet. Now, how does this match up with the music? Right, typically, the rhyme is going to fall on the same beat. And most easily, and this is something that you can introduce to your students, putting the rhyme on beat number 4. Right, it's going to keep it easier. So let's see what it looks like here. Justinian the First, his enemies he did defeat, expanded his empire, took it to its peak. Right, so you can see defeat and peak, right, both show up on beat number 4. And again, it's an easy way to organize the rhymes and to make it sound good. Now, as you get more advanced, you can, of course, put the rhymes on different beats. In a common way and in a good, maybe intermediate step, is to put the rhyme on beat number 2 and 4 of the first bar, and then on beat 4 of the second bar. All right, so Justinian took his seat, his enemies he did defeat, expanded his empire, took it to its peak. All right, now it doesn't make too much sense, but again, that's how you could challenge your students or challenge yourself to incorporate more rhymes into it. But to keep it simple, again, you can put it on beat number 4. So that's the organization of it. Now, how do you go about writing a couplet? So there's 5 steps that I'm going to go over on how to write a couplet. Step number 1, start with writing bar number 1. Now, when you're doing academic rhymes, right, this would be the introduction to a vocabulary word or the definition of a vocabulary word or an introduction of some facts if you're covering content or the first step in a series of steps if you're working on a skill. Whatever it is, right, you'd start with that first line of bar 1. Second step, you're going to go to the last word in bar 1 and list as many words as you can think of that rhyme with that last word. Now you can start off thinking of words off the top of your head. I definitely don't encourage you to use resources such as RhymeZone or any other rhyming websites, as well as Google Documents have add-on that help you rhyme and find out rhyme words. So again, list as many of those as you can think of. Step 3, you're going to choose a word that fits, a word that makes sense. Number 4, you're going to write bar number 2, right, line number 2, and you're going to end it with the word that rhymes. So I'm going to go over this in a little more detail, but you're going to actually almost write the line backwards. Right? You're going to start with the end, the word that rhymes, and then fill in the beginning. And then finally, like all writing processes, you want to check, revise, and edit. It's particularly important when writing hip-hop songs or raps because you got to make sure that it fits with the music. So you're going to have to edit the number of syllables to make sure that it fits. All right, so let's go over an example here. Again, start with bar 1. I'm going to use Justinian, the emperor of the Byzantine Empire, as my example of how to make the rhymes academic. And I'll start with bar 1 and about Justinian's ability to expand his empire. And so I'm going to say Justinian I, his enemies he did defeat. Step 2, I'm going to list as many words as I can think of, right, that rhyme with defeat. And I'm going to start off with perfect rhymes, words that rhyme exactly. Beat, bleat, treat, tweet, wheat, complete, meet, sweet, athlete, worksheet. And I would continue going on if needed. Now I'm also going to think about slant rhymes. Slant rhymes are words that almost rhyme, and when you pronounce them quickly or in a certain way, you can make them sound like they do in fact rhyme when they're not an exact perfect rhyme. So some examples of slant rhymes for defeat: peak, speak, leak, chic, or leaf. Right? So again, as you're pronouncing these words, you can make them sound like it's rhyme. And again, those are called slant rhymes, also known as near or lazy rhymes. And again, those are just two words that, when pronounced, pass off as a rhyme. Now, as you're doing this process, and what I really stress to students, because this is brainstorming, you don't want to judge. Right? You want to list as many words as possible, even if you don't think it's going to make sense. Right? Why? Because that's going to get your brain flowing, it's going to get ideas out there, and you never know if that next word is going to be the one that fits perfectly. Right, so example here, the first word that I listed was beet, as in the vegetable. Now, of course, a beet is not going to really make much sense in this, so it's a word that I didn't think would work, but I still put it down, again, just to get all the words flowing. All right, so step 3. After you have a list of your rhyme words, you want to choose a word that fits. Now, what you want to stress to students, again, is that line 2, right, has to support line 1. You can't just pick a word that rhymes. It needs to be a word that rhymes, but also makes sense. Right? You're writing academic rhymes, right? So the couplets, the two lines need to go together. They need to complement each other. They need to deepen the understanding. Again, if it's vocabulary, maybe it gives an example of the vocabulary word. If it's content, it gives additional facts or information. It has to make sense. So looking at my list of words and taking my knowledge, I know Justinian expanded the empire to its biggest size. So just looking quickly there, right? I know peak can be used as an analogy for when something's at its highest or its biggest. Step 4, write bar number 2, right? Write that second line. And again, you're going to start, though, with the rhyme word. So I'm going to write peak first, and it's, again, going at the end of my sentence to fall on the same beat. And then I'm going to fill in the rest of my line. Right? He expanded his empire, and he took it to its peak. Right? And again, as your students are working on this, it might take them a little while. You might find that you have to change the ending word because you can't make the first choice work. And that's all fine. That's all part of the process of writing. Once you have line 2, it's now time to check, revise, and edit. Again, important step always when writing, but more so, I think, when you're writing with song, because it has to not only make sense, but it has to fit with the music, right? Fit with the beat. All right, so here it is on my line. I'm going to put my music on, and I'm going to check it. He expanded his empire, and he took it to its peak. All right, let me say it again. He expanded his empire, and he took it to its peak. So as I'm going through that, I can see myself struggling a little bit. I felt like there's maybe too much to say, and I might want to take a couple syllables out. So let me try that now. I think I'm going to take out and I think I'm going to take out he. All right, so I'm going to shorten it to he expanded his empire, took it to its peak. And it's going to slow it down slightly, allow me to wrap it a little bit better. You might find, or your students might find, that they need to add syllables. Right? Maybe you didn't have enough, and your line ends too soon. Right? So you then encourage them to add in words, adjectives, or filler words such as pronouns or conjunctions like and or he. All right, again, I'm going to test it though all together to make sure it sounds good. Justinian the first his enemies he did defeat, expanded his empire, took it to its peak. All right, so it sounds pretty good. I would then move on and accept that this couplet is ready to go. Now the next step, and this is if you want to take your students further, right, you could leave it at just one couplet if you want to just have them memorize facts or vocabulary words. But if you want to have them build a whole song, right, you're going to build it by couplets, right? It's going to be just a series of couplets over and over again until you come up with an entire song. Now there's different ways to organize it. I'm going to show you one way, and that's starting off with an introduction. I encourage my students, especially when they're doing their Big Crusades rap project, to come up with a group name. And in those first 4 bars, right, so using 2 couplets to introduce themselves. And then I like starting with the chorus, although in a lot of hip-hop songs that's not the case. But I like the chorus in the beginning because, again, it sets that main idea. So I like going over that song structure with my students and showing how the chorus acts as the main idea and lets their listener know what the song's about. So I like starting with it. Chorus could be 4 bars repeated. It could be 8 bars that just go together. Whatever it is, though, it's the main idea of the song. And then you're going to go into a verse. And the verse is going to be part of the story. Right? So it could be 16 bars or more, right, depending on the length of your song or depending on the amount of information. But again, it's just going to be a series of couplets. Right? Sometimes you might pair 2 couplets together. Right? So you deal with 4 bars that have the same content or the same exact part. Or maybe you have just a series of couplets that are touching on different parts of it. I followed up with a chorus, a second verse, another chorus, and then I do an outro, right? Signing off, giving them a chance to kind of wrap it up, right? Reintroduce themselves or just kind of give one little final word to their reader, similar to a conclusion of a written essay. So there you go. There you have it. This is High Five History's version of how to write academic rhymes. I hope you enjoy. I hope you teachers and you students are able to use this video to write your own raps to help you learn the contents and skills you're covering. Good luck.